It begins in darkness. There are no roosters in the servants' halls, just footsteps. The tap of shoes on stone, the scrape of a stool pushed back, quiet knock, signaling your turn has come. You rise. The air is freezing. Your breath fogs slightly as you sit up on a hard straw mattress. You slept in your undershirt to save time. No fire warms this room, just stone walls and the body heat of the other servants, who sleep side by side. There is no breakfast. You splash water on your face from a chipped bowl, cold, metallic, your fingers sting. You dress fast, breeches, shirt, waistcoat, your powdered wig, coarse and stiff, is uncomfortable. But it must be worn. It smells faintly of stale starch and lavender. You place it carefully, then straighten your cuffs. It is still not yet light. The palace is beginning to stir, not wake. Exactly, but prepare. Because in Versailles, appearance is not just everything. It is survival. Your first task may be emptying chamber pots. You carry them down winding back staircases. Narrow, worn slick, from years of steps. The smell is sharp. You stop noticing. Or perhaps you dust mirrors. Gold leaf, silver trim, chandeliers, with so many crystals they catch the first rays of light before the sun fully rises. You polish silently. Not a word, no clatter. If you're overheard, you may be reassigned. Or worse, removed. Versailles has hundreds of rooms. You clean dozens in a day. You do not speak unless spoken to. You bow when a noble passes. If you meet eyes with someone of higher rank, you look away first. You are not seen. That is your job. By mid-morning, you may be called to assist with the lever, the ceremonial waking of the king. Only a handful of servants are allowed in that chamber. It is both an honor and a trap. One wrong motion, one misspoken phrase, and your reputation is stained. The floors are scrubbed with wine and lemon to keep them gleaming. The walls must be spotless, the drapes precisely tied. The bed linens changed in a choreography learned over years. You eat only when dismissed. Bread, a little cheese. If you are lucky, the kitchen is generous with its leftovers. The rest of your day is walking, climbing, fetching, waiting, bowing. You carry coats, deliver letters. You hold your breath in the presence of perfume that lingers from someone 5 ranks above you. Your shift ends only when the nobles have gone to bed. And when you return to your quarters, below the palace, behind the kitchens, you sleep in your clothes. There's no time to undress. You may not even lie down fully. Just lean against the wall. Breathe. Rest your feet. And then it begins again. This was life beneath the mirrors, behind the tapestries, just beyond the royal gaze. And now, from the polished boots to the crown above them, we turn to the man who made Versailles what it became. Not a home, but a stage. Now look up. The center of every hallway, every chamber, every golden flourish is a man who called himself the Sun King. Louis XIV ruled longer than any monarch in European history. But he did more than wear the crown. He reshaped how it was worn. To him, monarchy was not just power, it was theater, and Versailles was his stage. Imagine being one of his nobles, a duke, a marquis, a count, used to land and local power, now called to court. You arrive at Versailles expecting luxury. You find yourself standing, waiting, bowing. Everything is dictated by etiquette. Louis rises in the morning, not in private, but in ceremony. The lever, or waking ritual, is a parade of order and hierarchy. There are designated places for each noble to stand. Some hand the king his shirt, others pass him a glove. Each role, however minor, is a mark of favor, and no one dares miss their cue. Imagine being present at this moment. You're silent. You bow at the correct time. You do not speak unless invited. Even then, you measure every syllable. At meals, the rules continue. Louis eats in public. His napkin is handed to him with formality. Forks, knives, even glances must follow protocol. A seat close to the king means power. A misstep might mean exile. Not to a prison, but to your country estate, far from influence. Louis designed this system. He moved the court to Versailles, not to reward the nobility, but to control them. By drawing them close, he kept their ambitions in sight. While they competed for the privilege of holding his candlestick, he made the real decisions alone and without interruption. Versailles became a gilded cage, not just for the nobles, But for Louis himself, every day was performance. Every gesture, deliberate. He dressed magnificently, with wigs stacked high and heels painted red. His presence was overwhelming. His expectations unrelenting. Even the layout of the palace reflected this order. Long central axis leading to his bedroom. The Sun King at the center of it all, and yet in private. He was a man, tired, restless, driven by the fear of disorder, of weakness, of rebellion, ruled absolutely, but not without the weight of what that meant. His legacy is brilliance and burden, and in the shadow of his grandeur, the palace thrived and suffocated. Now we leave the public halls and polished rituals and slip into the hidden spaces, the ones behind the walls, the narrow passages that saw more than they ever said. Now, leave the grand salons behind. Step quietly past the gilded doors into a narrow hallway. No paintings here, no mirrors, just stone lit dimly by flickering sconces. These are the back corridors of Versailles. They were never meant to be seen. And yet within them, so much happened. Behind every grand room at Versailles was a hidden route, a servant's passage, a back stairwell, a concealed door tucked behind tapestries. These were arteries for the invisible lifeblood of the palace, the men and women who cleaned, dressed, served, and listened. Imagine walking these halls at night. The walls are thick with silence. You carry a tray of warm wine. You know which stair creaks and which must never be used. You pass others without speaking. Just a nod. You both know your presence must go unnoticed. There is a hidden language here of glances, of timing, of invisibility. And yet these corridors weren't only for servants. They were also for lovers, mistresses, whispered conspiracies. Late-night visits? Private messages delivered without the echo of footsteps in marble halls. Louis XIV, for all his public ceremony, maintained private apartments. Hidden rooms where only those with special access could enter. His official queen lived nearby. But so did his favored mistress. Servants knew which hallway to use, which room to warm, which visitor to ignore. Even nobles used the secret ways. To avoid scandal, to avoid rivals, to slip in or out of view. It was understood. Discretion was survival. A cough in the wrong hallway might end a promotion. A rumor repeated could banish you from court. The walls adorned in public were plain and watchful here. They heard more than they told. These passages are still there today. Visitors rarely notice them. They walk the gleaming halls, admiring mirrors and chandeliers, but behind every wall is a door, behind every staircase, another smaller stair, winding up into quiet corners. The palace, as magnificent as it seemed, depended on these hidden rhythms, the whispers, the footsteps you never saw. And now, we leave the shadows behind and step back into the gardens, the ballrooms, the scent of roses and powdered wigs. To those at the very top, where luxury reigned, every smile hit a blade. Now, ascend the grand staircase. The marble cooled beneath polished heels. The air is warm with the scent of roses, beeswax, and perfumes so thick it almost lingers in the throat. You are no longer a servant, but someone seated near the top. A duchess, perhaps, or the cousin of a count. Welcome to Versailles among the elite. Here, everything glitters. Silk gowns sweeping across parquet floors, powdered wigs curled with precision. Fans fluttering like butterflies as eyes scan the room for favor, for alliances, for weaknesses. At this level, life is lavish. And laced with tension, you attend meals with ceremony. Dinners can stretch for hours. 4 courses, 5 wines, a progression of dishes that exist less to satisfy and more to impress. Sorbet between roast meats, artfully folded napkins, servants standing silently behind every chair. But every bite is measured. Not for calories, but for conduct. You watch how someone lifts their spoon, how they addresses the lady beside them, whether they laugh too freely or not at all. One misstep can whisper through the palace in hours. You take afternoon promenades in the gardens, careful to walk with the correct companions, the ones whose reputations are rising. You exchange pleasantries, compliments, tiny barbs disguised as sweetness. It's not conversation. It's combat in lace gloves. Above all, you fear falling from favor. His favor is currency. A glance from the king could mean promotion. A missing invitation could spell disgrace. Every day is a performance. Every evening, a test. You cannot rest. Even joy must be managed carefully. Behind the fans, gossip swirls about who arrived late to chapel, who was caught without powder, who spent too long in the gallery with someone else's husband. Versailles is not a home. It is a court, a place where power flows, not through honesty but through visibility. The art of being seen at the right time, in the right dress, saying the right thing. And to the right person. And all the while, beneath these polished lives, servants move through secret corridors, fires are stoked, linens changed, and the world continues to spin, not on justice, not on truth, but on silk sorbet, silent sabotage. And now, the chandeliers are dimmed. The music has faded. The doors of Versailles have closed for the night. You've walked the cold, echoing halls before the sun rose, carried chamber pots, dusted gold that never belonged to you, watched kings dress by candlelight and nobles bow for power, not kindness. You've heard the whispers behind walls, stepped through secret stairwells, felt the weight of silence and the threat behind every glance. Versailles was a palace of wonders, but also of rules and roles and quiet exhaustion. Glittered, yes, but beneath the surface, it was a place of performance. And now, as you rest far from those marble corridors, let the noise of it all fall away. The powder, the footsteps, the courtly smiles, let it dissolve into stillness. You are no longer walking those endless halls. You are here, warm, safe, and sleep is gently waiting. Good night.